Okay, I'm going to be reading from the graphic novel Jop and Blip Want to Know. I have it as an ebook, but it is a graphic novel, so I'm going to be doing my best to show the pictures. The story within this book that I'll be reading is called The Penguin Puzzle. All right. Hey, Grandma. Yes, Blip? Is it okay with you that I'm a robot? Of course, dear. I love you just as you are. That's good. I don't know how to be a way I'm not. Bye, Grandma. All right, here we see Blip has an idea about a penguin. So weird, so weird, so weird. Job, I think something is wrong with my brain. Why is that, Blip? I've been thinking of some really weird questions. Weird, huh? Like when you asked how far a porcupine can shoot its quills? That wasn't weird. And I learned they can't shoot them at all. You have to touch them for them to get stuck. Was it like when you asked how many hot dogs a person can eat in 10 minutes? No, I learned it's 75, and people are breaking that record, so it might go higher than that. Was it like when you asked if we froze a balloon and then popped it, would we get a big ball of frozen air? I don't even remember asking that one. But no, even weirder than that. We could try some brain surgery and see what's up with your brain. I've always thought that sounded fun. Pop, Blip pops Job's brain open. Okay, so I opened your head. I can see your brain. It's about 60% fat, so that's normal. It's pretty yucky, I guess. So that's normal. It's pretty moist. I think that's good. That means my brain should be just fine. I should go ahead and ask my weird question. Could we hear a penguin fart on Mars? A penguin? A penguin is a bird, Job. I think it looks like a chicken in a tuxedo. I know what a penguin is, Blip. It's just that I never heard a better question about one. We must know the answer. Great, let's go buy a penguin. Whoa, hang on. Penguins aren't pets. We can't just go out and buy one like a goldfish. I don't want a goldfish. I mean, I already know that some fish farts can be heard. It's not exactly like a people fart. It doesn't move through their intestines. They use a special organ called a swim bladder. Is there a reason you know that? Yes, because everything is worth knowing. I think we might be shouting a little bit too much, said Jop. Right. Anyway, we don't really need an actual penguin right now. We can use an imaginary penguin. And his name is Dave, said Job. Now, how much will it cost to get Dave to Mars? Well, NASA put the Curiosity rover on Mars for about $2.5 billion, but the estimate gets even higher for humans, maybe as much as $1 trillion. But Dave is just a penguin. We can stuff him in some old rocket and shoot him into space. Nope, that trip could take 9 months. He'll have to eat and we'll need room for his food. Some penguins eat 10 pounds of fish a day. That's almost 1.5 tons of fish in 9 months. Hey, since penguins love the cold, will we need a big air conditioner on this spaceship? Depends on which kind of penguin Dave is. 17 or 18 species don't live in super cold spaces. And the Galapagos penguins live near the equator. But we'll probably need to send some of those penguins like to be around other penguins, right? To be happy? Being around penguins will make me happy too. Okay, let's say we land Dave and his food on Mars, and his friend. If we leave him floating around in space, we'll never hear anything. What do you mean? Sound is transmitted by molecules bumping into each other. In space, there are no air molecules, no atmosphere. Since when do we have air to hear? What about those huge explosions in movies when spaceships blow up? That's just a movie. I see. Well, Mars does have an atmosphere, but it's really, really thin. So could we hear any fart? Maybe, but I think we would need to be loud. My grandma's farts are pretty loud. Well, your grandma's digestive system is 30 feet long. Yeah. In a long digestive system, there's a lot of time for food grandma eats to make gas, and that gas builds up. Birds have short digestive system, and they poop really often, so gas never builds up. And a penguin is a bird, so we couldn't hear a penguin fart on Mars. We couldn't hear a penguin fart anywhere. I told you, I didn't fart, said this penguin in this graphic. I'm going to invite my grandma over and tell her we figured it out. All right, and that's the end of the penguin question from Jip and Blop. All right. All right, as I mentioned, this is from Jop and Blip Want to Know by Jim Benton, published in 2021 by Harper Alley. All right, how would I present this book in a class? So if I were to present this book to a classroom, I would want to emphasize the curiosity of the two main characters, Jop and Blip. Jop and Blip are naturally curious robots. And when they have a question, they ask themselves a series of intuitive questions to try to get an answer to their original question. So when I present this book, I would want to highlight their curiosity and let my students know that it's good to be curious about things. And it's good to dig deeper into whatever questions you might have, just as our two main characters did. All right, reading skills. So how reading this book will build upon the children's reading skills. And just like reading any book aloud, I think hearing this book read aloud will, first of all, help students understand sentence structure. And it'll be helpful for them to hear the correct intonation of phrases. I think that's one of the biggest benefits to hearing any book read aloud. And it might also develop their reading skills by introducing some new vocabulary as well. For objectives, so a learning objective could be that students will be able to identify the central question that Jop and Blip are trying to answer and explain how they went about solving it. Strategies that I would use. So I mentioned intonation earlier and how that's an important aspect of reading aloud because it's a more natural way of listening to the story. And I would want my students to learn to read with intonation in their voice. So I think that's a very important aspect of reading this aloud to a class, and something that I would want to be aware of, just how my voice sounds. Also, with this being a graphic novel, there are parts of the plot that are expressed solely through pictures rather than text. So I think I would have to be mindful of that and try to kind of, just as I did during the recording, try to explain some plot points that are only illustrated through pictures. And for an activity that could go along with this in the classroom. So I think an interesting activity that students could do related to this book is to come up with their own question, just like Jop and Blip did in the book. And then just like our two main characters did, come up with potential solutions to that problem. I think one of the great things that this book does with this plot is promotes curiosity and also critical thinking as well. So I think that that's definitely something I would want my students to get out of reading this book.